Here we go.
So what I'm going to show is how illegal minerals work and what makes them more effective than other forms of minerals and why that matters in our body. So this is just water. I'm adding equal amounts of water in both sides. And what we're going to show is what happens to minerals in our stomachs. So because the stomach is very acidic, now I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar just to add a little bit of acid into the solution. So same thing, I'm going to use equal amounts of vinegar on both sides. Okay. Now what I have here are two different forms of the mineral copper. So on this side we're going to use our Oligo copper. There we go, splashed out. Just wipe that up before it sets. All right. And then on the other side I'm going to use copper sulfate. Now again, copper sulfate is a very common form of copper. It's also a very cheap form. So this is what you'll find in a lot of the cheap multivitamins at the store. And a couple of other things about copper. We use copper for this demonstration because it has kind of a natural blue color and it helps us to see what's going on. So with a little bit of vinegar, what we're showing is that these dissolve fine in the stomach. The stomach, of course, is very acidic, a lot more acidic than this. But this is just going to help us demonstrate that they dissolve fine with a little bit of acidity. Okay, just a couple of little pieces left in there, so that's good. All right, now while the stomach is very acidic, the stomach is not where nutrients are absorbed into the body. Nutrients are actually absorbed in the small intestine. And while the stomach is very acidic, the small intestine is actually close to pH neutral, or close to a pH of 0. So what we're going to do now is bring the pH back up by adding baking soda. So this is going to simulate what happens when the minerals pass from the stomach into the small intestine. This is what happens to those minerals. So I've got half a teaspoon of baking soda that I'm putting on each side. Now you're starting to see that blue color come through a lot. And this is also going to show us the first really important thing about Oligo. So while that baking soda dissolves fine on both sides, we now have a big difference between these two solutions. So on the Oligo side, it has stayed very clear. And that's just meaning that the minerals are staying dissolved. They haven't done anything different. Over here, the baking soda has dissolved, but the solution has stayed cloudy. And the reason for that is because the minerals have begun to recrystallize. And that's what happens to the minerals as they move from the stomach. They dissolve in the stomach, and they move into the small intestine, and they begin to recrystallize in that pH neutral environment. And what that means is that it's much harder for the body to absorb those minerals. If you think about it at a molecular level, those minerals are getting bigger again, and they have to pass through the intestinal wall, and now they're getting too big and they don't pass through effectively. So that's the first thing that we're showing, is that the Oligo minerals, because they stay dissolved, they're up to 10 times more absorbable into the body. Okay, so the next thing we're going to show is what's happening with free radicals and antioxidants. So minerals actually cause free radical levels to increase, but the Oligo process protects the minerals in a way that keeps the free radical levels lower. And so what that means is that over on the Oligo side, we should have a very low level of free radicals, and on the copper sulfate side, we should have a lot of free radicals. And we're going to show that by adding some antioxidant vitamin C. So this is ascorbic acid. It's just vitamin C in a crystalline form. So we're going to add that on both sides, And on the copper sulfate side, you'll see a reaction starting to happen immediately over there as it changes color. Whereas over on this side, it's going to stay pretty much the same. So can you see that color change happening in there? It's starting to turn green. And the reason for that is that because there's a higher level of free radicals, those free radicals are now beginning to oxidize or damage the vitamin C. And that means that the vitamin C is getting used up before it's even been absorbed into the body. So it reduces the amount of antioxidant vitamin C that you get into your body. Whereas on the oligo side, there is some free radical activity, but very little compared to this side. And that means that it's protecting the antioxidants. So you get a lot more of those antioxidants into your body. Okay, so I'll sum up in 3 things. First, the oligo mineral process protects it so that the minerals don't recrystallize in the small intestine. So you absorb more of it into your body. Second, it keeps the free radical levels low. And third, that protects the antioxidants so that you get a lot more of the antioxidant into your bloodstream. And that's why we make such a big deal of oligo. So hopefully that makes sense.